The Sacrificial Dagger, Otto Stern, Lumina Books.
The importance placed on ritual sacrifice is constant in religious cult practice. Propitiating the gods is a theme common to many religions. The Old Testament affords many examples. Primitive polytheistic belief systems integrate sacrifice in their rituals as part of the recurrent process of reaffirmation and, naturally enough, group cohesion. The members of their social and religious community come together in an act of purification and atonement. It would be erroneous to imagine the act of human sacrifice linking priest, offering, and God, C.F. Manzetti, stone cults, as anything less than a vital focusing of the group's faith. The act also ensures the continuing appeasement of the god, but only if practiced by a recognized officiating priest using the appropriate instrument. Studies made concerning primitive religious groups bear witness to the central role of sacrifice in living ritual. My own work in the field of ethnopsychology brought me into contact with a sorcerer living in the region of Arkham. He introduced me to the rite of steel, linked to a ceremony known as adoring the black goat of the woods with 1,000 youngs. The god being adored is known as the vagabond. Here, the dagger's role, which allows the life breath to pass from one dimension to another, is essential. The vagabond is a frightening figure, being able to move where he wants and to kill those who have displeased the goat god, for whom he acts as a go-between. The goat is clearly a fertility god. The priest, having spoken the invocation, must choose the appropriate dagger for the sacrifice. The knife with a sinusoidal blade that must be dipped 7 times on night when the moon is full in water that has been distilled 100 times will be laid aside, since it would send the vagabond back into his own dimension. See illustration. The priest will rather choose the dagger with a curved blade. That is more appropriate for slitting of the lamb's throat. This act transfigures the sorcerer priest and plunges the assembled worshippers into a divine trance.
The Book of Yael, Signs of Stone, Eucharistic Rituals of Forbidden Cults. Texts collated by Monsignor Vacher, Legate in the Curia of the Vatican.
Numerous devilish cults speak of monstrous creatures called the Old Ones. These supernatural beings are believed to be possessed of powers equivalent to those of the gods of antique religions. Adepts of such cults refer to forbidden literature in order to cause these frightful entities to appear before them. What serious student of folk myths has not come across the names of Cthulhu and Shub-Niggurath? It must be said that these creatures wield tremendous power and are difficult to control once they have been unleashed into the world. Those who serve He Who Goes in Shadows protect themselves with signs of stone carved into the walls of houses or engraved on various objects. For those misguided servants of evil, the best protection appears to be that afforded by the sign of the most ancient gods, engraved in Manar stone, a heavy material said to be disagreeable to the touch. The sinful practices of those who fall into such errors can only lead to the darkest of despair, and are a mortal danger to the soul. Such monsters as those invoked by these foolhardy individuals are engendered when reason drops its guard. Man is easily tempted into perversion. It is why we must forever remain alert and renounce Satan with each breath we take. His ways are infinite in number.
Okay, hey there YouTube, this is Overlord Review with Chance Cheek, and there is nothing better than starting off a video with almost 7 minutes worth of cutscenes, and in this game, that's a cutscene. Most of the story so far, as we've noticed, is given through us through notebooks, books, and parchment. So the first parchment that we read, that was the one that told us which dagger we could use to kill the book monster in there. The second parchment, it described the, if you remember in video 2, I believe, episode 2, the notebook, or maybe it was episode 1, the notebook that we found for Heartwood. He described how he drew the symbol on the floor to keep the keep everything at bay, basically. So those are what those two described. So today this is Alone in the Dark, Part 3. So today we're going to be, let's see, we're going to be fighting some interesting monsters. We're going to see some interesting parts of this. Basically today we're going to go inside of a cavern, the cave. We're going to get a little bit further in the game. We're going to see some pretty cool stuff. We're going to see some combat. Up until now, we've had combat with a couple zombies, but it's been mostly puzzle solving. Towards this part of the game and towards the end of the game, it gets really combat heavy. So, and it kind of shows even more graphics of the time that I think are amazing. So, we gotta, basically we're gonna be getting a pot in this room, and the way it works is you can only have so many big items and so many small items, so we gotta set down the gramophone. I know all this because I forgot to save and got very far into the game and died. So I just redid everything. Okay. Another cool thing about this game is there's no max. Basically in the corner you see that 24, that's your health bar. There is no max, so as soon as you get a health kit or something, you need to eat it or drink it, and it'll basically just make your health bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, now in this room there is going to be all these zombies are dead except for one, and we need the door to the left, so we got to set this pot on the table and then run out of the room, and basically he'll sit down and he'll stay on that side so we can come from the front of the room and exit over to that door without having to fight him. And basically save ourselves some ammo, save ourselves some health points. See, there he is sitting. Now, we got a jug earlier in the game. We're actually going to fill that jug with water that we find in this cabinet. Now, what attracts zombies more than human flesh? That's right, a barrel of water. Another issue I've been having with this game is once an enemy pins you, you really can't run away, and you really can't battle him. So, I haven't played 2 yet. I'm going to do a playthrough of that soon. But I'm hoping they fix some of the battle mechanics for the 2nd and 3rd game. I know the battle and the attack wasn't that bad for New Nightmare, or for the reboot, but I'm hoping it gets fixed in 2 because I like the graphics on this, I like the retro feel, I like a lot of the controls, but the battle, something needs fixed. Like, I'm all for tank controls, but this is just too much. So, if we get too close, he'll attack us, but as long as you hug the wall, we can go to this room. And then you'll instantly see the smoke. We're going to use that jug of water to, basically, this is a cigar, so we're going to douse the cigar so that we can explore the room a little bit more without getting hurt. Okay, remember that sword we got in the beginning of episode 1 that broke on us the second we tried to kill the zombie? So we're actually going to need both pieces of that in order to complete this puzzle right here. So basically now we can go into the cave. So this will be super cool. Now the cave was mentioned in Hartwood's journal. He talks about how the monster would walk with him through the caverns. And we're just going to go ahead and read this real quick.
The tale of Captain J.W. Norton of the Army of the Union.
1862. The South was in collapse. Louisiana was open to us. I had each day to requisition victuals for our troops, and was aided in this endeavor by a score of brave men. Rebels were not yet ready to lay down their arms. The region was far from safe. I headed further and further west and questioned many freed slaves. From them, I learned of a plantation on the coast. Its name was Derceto. We received a less than hearty welcome. Only Pickford, the owner, behaved in a friendly manner. While my men counted cattle and grain reserves, I learned what I could from him. Man was most unusual and possessed an extraordinarily cultured mind. At nightfall, I gave orders for the men to bivouac at Derceto. Pickford invited my second-in-command, Lieutenant Patterson, and myself to dine. And our host proved a most entertaining conversationalist. While coffee was being served, Patterson went to inspect the men's camp. The cigar Pickford offered me was so acrid that my head began to spin. I remembered campfire tales of fellow officers trapped by devilish Confederate tricks. My mind floated in a foul and dense fog, from which emerged the enlarged and deformed face of Pickford. He grinned at me. Patterson's return chased off the nightmare. I heard shouts and firing from outside and found the strength to take out my revolver. I fired 3 shots. Pickford fell to the floor. Patterson then helped me out of the burning house. The air was filled with smoke. We resembled a company in disorderly retreat. I saw slaves leaping into the flames of that inferno. They were trying to save Pickford's life.
So that's actually one of the better, as I've noticed, one of the better journal entries that kind of give us something more into the story.
Memories by Alistair Boleskine. Printed in London, A. Machin, editor, 1833.
It was during a conversation with G that one first heard of the New England fishing village of I. The area was apparently the ideal place from which to witness unusual phenomena in space. The quality of the air, along with the conjunction of several favorable factors, made one impatient to get started. Having gleaned what information one could from the British Museum, one set off with all haste. One's work on space and comets in particular had met with a warm response, and one thought it judicious to include several original sketches of the phenomenon, sketches which one felt were sure to arouse a great deal of keen interest in the scientific circles of 1834. One refers naturally to the passage of Halley's comet.
Editor's note: Lord Boleskine's memoirs end at this point. Who knows what extraordinary contributions he might still have made had he not succumbed during his visit to New England to dementia, followed by an early death in St. Andrew's Hospital.
Okay, I think that's where we're going to leave off for this episode. Thanks for watching, YouTube. You can see the links to all my social medias in the description. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Have a good day, YouTube.